Hi, and welcome back to the living room. I appreciate you coming over for another visit. Well, spring has officially sprung here in the Northern Hemisphere. However, here in Colorado, the second day of spring, we're going to get snow. We're supposed to be blasted by snow. Yay! But today I thought we would repot my store-bought Phalaenopsis that had come with a spike, and then she grew this spike, and well, as you can see, the flowers are going over. And as it is the beginning of spring, a lot of us do like to do our repot, so we'll just kind of go over kind of what to look for to see if you need to repot, because in my experience I have found that not all store-bought Phalaenopsis need to be repotted right away. I used to be one that would repot as soon as they came home, but I have learned that they don't all necessarily need to be repotted. So we'll just kind of look and see at the media. I've got another orchid we can kind of compare and unpot, repot, and go from there. If you have any comments, or if I end up saying something and I don't finish it, go ahead and ask questions. I appreciate questions. I love talking to you guys in the comments, but that's enough jibber jabber on my part, so let me move the camera and we'll get started. All right, so I do have our beautiful lark song here for comparison. She recently finished blooming, and I just recently cut her spike right here. Now, she's been in this pot and this media for almost 2 years, so about a year and a half. And if you look at the media, it still looks rather fresh. It doesn't look broken down, okay? She still has some roots. I could repot her, but I think I'm going to wait until next year to repot her because she's not really outgrowing. She still has room to put some roots into this pot. Even at the top, I mean, it does look, there is some salt buildup and whatnot, and if nothing else, I can just take those top layers off and just refresh it with some new bark without having to repot the whole thing. And then we have my store-bought one here. Let me put her, because she's kind of front heavy, so if I don't put her in her decorative pot, she tends to want to flip over. So with this one, so this is the one that had the beautiful white flowers, and she still has 2 fairly fresh flowers right here. However, I am going to cut the spike. Now let's look at the media in this pot. Look at that. It looks very broken down. Like there are parts of it like right here that are still kind of firm and fresh looking. However, if you look in the pot, she has, she looks like she's in dirt, and then we have all of these older roots that have died off. Now, I purchased her in November of 2021. I believe she is a grocery store fowl. I'm not sure. Either grocery store or Lowe's. Those are the 2 main places that I get my store-boughts from. She is also rather wobbly in the pot. The reason that this rock is here was to help support her, because otherwise you can kind of see she was a little wobbly on this side. So I did put the rock right there to kind of help stabilize her. So this is one of those instances where you could repot as soon as you get her home. But like I said, there was still enough good bark left in there that I decided to wait. Now she does have a few growing tips as well in the pot. I don't see any new roots growing from the stem. So let's get her unpotted. I do have my Fiskars had been soaking in some rubbing alcohol to sterilize. I have my, of course, hydrogen peroxide. I know not everyone likes using that. However, I have found that since using it, I've really not had any bugs into my collection. Now, does that mean that I just have gotten lucky and haven't gotten any orchids with bugs? Or is it the hydrogen peroxide? Either way, I'm going to continue using it. So the first thing I'm going to do is, of course, remove the stake and the rock. And then I am going to cut. So I'm going to get this up close. So some people will cut above a node to get a secondary spiking or a branch. I personally don't do that. Now, if the orchid grows the branch in the process of having the blooms, then I'll leave it alone. But once the main flush of blooms is gone, regardless if she has a secondary spike or not, I do cut the spike. So you could cut it from here, okay? And then possibly get a branch, put this down, possibly get a branch off of one of the nodes. It's just a personal opinion. Some people will do that so that they get additional flowering throughout the year. I, however, like to cut it as close to the base of the stem without damaging anything and just cut it off. And I do spray just a little bit of hydrogen peroxide on top, and it is still early enough in the day, and I will take a paper towel and just kind of dry around that as well. Then what you want to do is squeeze the sides of your pot, and I'm going to hold her, kind of stabilize her a little bit just to keep her from wobbling because she is rather loose on top. And then we'll just pour and see what we have inside. We have a dead root that's keeping everything from coming through, so let's just take that off. All right. So the media actually doesn't smell bad, but as you can see, it is pretty broken down here. Let me just show you real quick. So it looks more like dirt, but it doesn't have a smell to it, so that is good. And of course, we have our seedling plug in here, right in the center, and it looks like one of the peat moss ones. There's no basket, so it'll be real easy just to kind of take half off and half off. Half off and half off. Wow, not enough coffee this morning. And there are some roots inside, but some are dead from that internal as well. So let me just get the rest of that off of there. All right, so now we've got her out. Normally I would soak the whole orchid, but I just watered her, so most of these roots are already nice and pliable, so I'm not too concerned. But there are quite a few that need to be cut off. So let's do that first. Like this right here, aerial root is dried to about right here. So I will cut right above. Can you see that? Right above that. And hopefully that might encourage it to continue growing. And then what you're looking for is this kind of stuff. Do you see how it just looks like paper? And if you tug on it just a little bit, it just comes off. So this portion here is what they call the velamen. This is actually what absorbs the water to give it to the root that's on the inside. Okay, so the little strings that you see, those are your actual roots, not this portion here. The outer portion that turns green is your velamen. It's the protection for the roots, and it is how the roots get their nutrients. So again, here we have another example. This root right here looks nice and green, but then when you get right up here, it's completely dry. And let's just cut that one off because I want to show you something. Put her here. Pull this velamen back and see if it'll, yeah, see, she is completely dry on the inside. So even though you have this portion down here that's nice and green, I go ahead and cut off because she does have some nice roots that she's going to end up keeping. So if she were low on the root system, had a worse root system than this, I would probably have kept and just peeled back the velamen. But in this case, I think she'll be okay. And when you do cut your roots, you want to get as close to the stem as possible without damaging it. So you just follow it up and then cut. And let's just, so I'll get her finished cleaning up and then I will be back.